look, you have a right to play what you want, like what you like, complain about what you want to complain about. I'm one of your fiercest allies and advocates in that. I believe very much in being able to express yourself, even if it's shit I disagree with. In fact, especially. But this kind of sweet baby pile-on that I'm seeing on the internet where people are like, coming after this company because if you don't know what Sweet Baby is, I'm sure you've heard of it by now, but they're a company in Canada. They offer their services to anyone really, but mostly video game companies where they offer writing, narrative, representation, development services. Mostly what they do is developers, in this case, we've seen God of War has used them, Spider-Man 2 has used them. There have been some games from Square, Alan Wake 2, on and on and on. Warner Brothers, they have a big client list. Okay. And a lot of companies come to them and say, hey, we want our games to be more diverse. We want our games to be more inclusive. Can you work with us on that? Because that's sort of their wheelhouse. They've built a company around the idea that companies, video game companies, media creation companies are going to want more diverse, inclusive, and accurate portrayals of the diversity that they are representing. And so that's their shtick, right? That's their high concept. And you can see if you click on these, like God of War, they worked with the team, narrative character consultant, focus on representation. With Alan Wake 2, they worked on sensitivity reading. Suicide Squad, they worked on script writing, so that may have nothing to do with that. Consultate in terms of diversities. Spider-Man 2, story constellation, depending on what game. Okay. And people are coming after these guys because it's like, oh, they're woke. What are they called? Sweet Baby Inc. is woke, which I guess by definition they probably are if you use the term the way I think you're using it. And they're ruining games, blah, blah, blah. To that I would say, shut the fuck up, you morons, you fucking idiots. Listen, let me just paint this for you, okay? Let me make it very clear for you. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is not a legal mandate, okay? It is a lot of times, a lot of these people who seem to be opposed to anything other than the status quo will go, oh, they have to get these points, these DEI points, or there's another version of it, CSR, corporate social responsibility, ESG, whatever. None of these are legal, required, unless you work for like a government company and they have mandated it, fine, that's its own thing. But if you're talking about a video game company, private or public, no, I'm sorry. Spider-Man didn't have to go to these guys. God of War, Suicide Squad, Motorfest, which is a great game, by the way, did not have to go to these guys to get anything in order to get more money or tax breaks or anything like that. The only kind of thing that you can see is sometimes with the DEI stuff, public companies, the shareholders will be like, hey, we want to know the company is kind of really doing that sort of shit. Okay, fine. Until, here's the tricky part, okay? Until doing that kind of shit ends up hurting the bottom line. And then the shareholders don't give a shit. Here's how I know, and here's how you should know too. When Bobby Kotick was presiding over Activision and up until a couple of days ago, and all the money was rolling in like a goddamn avalanche cash into the stockholders' bank accounts, as much as Kotick was reported in the press to be, if not directly involved, although sometimes, but certainly indirectly involved as it relates to enabling a culture of misogyny and lack of diversity and sexual harassment, and sometimes even worse, he was always revoted in, and the board always supported him, and the stockholders always wanted him to stay. So I assure you, if all of these endeavors to diversify these games are actually hurting the bottom line, like a lot of you guys seem to think they are, trust me, the only lever that ESG or DEI has to pull is, well, we'll not invest in your company and we're stockholders. That won't matter because they won't invest in a company who's not selling games because they can point to this being the reason. So no, it's not the reason. Here's the reason. Do I think some of the initiatives have come out of a place of guilt or have come out of a place of posturing? Sure, but who gives a shit? who gives a shit? As long, the only reason you would give a shit is if you think it's bad for people to have diversity in their entertainment. Now, if it's bad writing, then just complain about the fucking writing. But there's nothing about it being diverse that makes it bad. It's characters who may or may not be diverse that are in a story that's badly written. But it's got nothing to do with the fact that one of them might be Latina and one of them might be a Jewish black lesbian. It's got nothing to do with that. And if it feels forced, well, if it feels forced, then it's poorly written. That's a different issue. That's a different valid complaint to have. And let me just end with this, because I got two. These are in the same day, totally different videos on the channel. I got this from Slow Mercy. We were talking earlier on the morning show about Prince of Persia, the new Prince of Persia. He says he's an Iranian guy, which is basically modern Persia. And he says, I don't understand why would the hero have braids? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's not a Persian style. And then he says he thinks the prince's brother's name has an Arabic name, but not an Iranian name. Okay, well, I don't personally care about that, but I care about this guy's feelings, right? So if somebody goes to Sweet Baby Inc. and says, hey, we want to run this by you guys because we know this is what you focus on, and they catch some of this stuff, well, that's great. What's the problem, right? When I was working on Drawn to Death, we had a Native American skin costume that went over Cyborgula, one of the characters that you could unlock. And I approved it. Great concept art. And then one of our concept artists came to me and said, hey, you do know that in the Native American culture, which the answer is no, I didn't know, all of the patterns and sort of symbology in there, the sort of the graphics on the outfits that we were having in the game, depending on the tribe and depending on what the symbol is, that means something to them. And I'm like, oh shit, really? She's like, yeah, you don't want to just willy-nilly draw some stuff that looks like something you've seen in the cowboy and Indian pictures back when you lived in the 50s. I never lived in the 50s. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's good to know. And we changed it, we fixed it, and I was glad we did. Another guy, like, what's the problem? What are you so worried about? Another person writes me with this. This was just a couple minutes ago. Omniversal. 15 minutes ago, we were talking about GTA 6, the trailer. Was it woke? P Turtle called in, said it was woke. That was that video. But he says, I'm Latino. Apparently, my very existence is woke. Just being me is being woke. Right. This is what I'm saying. Let people be in the fucking video games and the movies. Shut the fuck up. I get it if you're talking about a character that, for whatever reason, they've decided to change the race of, or the culture of, or the sex of. You know, it doesn't bother me that much, but I understand the complaint of, like, just make a new character. Okay, that's it doesn't bother me, but I can respect kind of the more artistic claim about canon and all that. Whatever. That's a there's no right or wrong there. That's just a valid take on things. But the minute these people are, which they are, creating new characters and worrying about diversity, that still pisses you off. So here's the thing. Either complain about bad writing, not diversity inclusivity, because that is your real problem, or just admit that you're a little bit racist, or admit that you're a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of, usually, not always, I'll give you that, but usually the white male population in America, you're uncomfortable with the fact that they are no longer always the main hero, and they are not always the main star of the movie, the TV show, the book, the comic, the game. Just own it. I mean, seriously, own it. It's not illegal to be racist. It's not illegal to sort of feel like the great replacement theory is a real thing. I don't think it's a real thing, but it's fine if you do. But be a fucking grown-up about it. And dare I say, be a man about it, because it's usually dudes. And just sort of say, yeah, no, I get it. Everything you're saying, Jaffe, makes sense. I don't really like it when the white culture is pushed out of the starring roles of things. And just go, okay, at least people would respect your honesty. But now it just sounds like you're trying to buttress up some bullshit or some racist argument with some bullshit logic. And it's like, it's not working. Be well. Enjoy your day. enjoy, enjoy, enjoy your day.